Welcome to Shock to the Series. Born to fight for justice, Goemon helps the weak and fights the strong, his trademark pipe in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 7 of Shock to the Series, and at this one we are going to look at a series by Konami, the guys behind the old Ninja Turtle games, the guys behind the Yu-Gi-Oh games, Metal Gear, Bomberman, and a character or two from these games was in the latest Bomberman. And this is Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. This is Goemon's Great Adventure, specifically the sequel to that game. But the whole series is the Mystical Ninja series, which I didn't get into initially. I've played some of the older ones since then, thanks to all the technology to bring older games back into the fold. But I started with Mystical Ninja starring Goemon on the N64. And I just picked it up because it looked cool. I was just picking up N64 games at random, just renting things, trying to see what I could get. And this was a game that had a ninja, and it seemed really cool. And I didn't know anything about it. I was picking stuff up at random. And so I really got into it. But I found a problem very early on, and that's back on the N64, not every game required some sort of memory card to save data. Some just did it on their own, some didn't bother, and then some, a very minimal amount, actually required a memory card that you put in the back of the controller. I usually use that for the Rumble Pack and occasionally a Transfer Pack for Pokemon Stadium. I bought Star Fox 64 and had a Rumble Pack long before I had a memory card. But this Mystical Ninja was one of those games that required a memory card to save your progress. And if you didn't have it, you didn't save. There was no option to, just stop and come back and, leave it be. And again, that wasn't the case. You had games like Mega Man 64, aka Mega Man Legends, where you could just save in the various slots whenever, and it didn't really matter. But Mystical Ninja, I know Quest 64 had it as well, where you had to save on the memory card to actually save your progress. And it wasn't a bad thing, but I didn't have one at the time, and I wasn't going to be able to get one. So the story for Mystical Ninja for me is that my father went to a football game one weekend. We live in Georgia, so he's a big Bulldogs fan. And I'm kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. I really couldn't care less about most sports. Pittsburgh Steelers being the biggest exception to that bit. But my father was off in Athens with my brother. It was, at that time, I forget what else was going on. I don't know if anything else was going on, but I said to myself, okay, I'm going to sit in my room and I'm going to play this because I have the room all to myself. I have nothing else to do, and I'm going to play through this entire thing. And that's exactly what I did. I took an entire day and beat Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, and it was great. It was fantastic. I've never done anything like that. I've done one thing like that since. When Arkham Asylum dropped, I played that when it dropped all through the night, trying to beat it all in one sitting. That was more because I love Batman, not because I didn't have a choice. But it was good. That's the thing. It wasn't something where I regret it. I love, especially the big robot fights. But so those of you who don't know, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So the main protagonists of this game is Goemon. Blue-haired dude, runs around in kind of a red robe, yellow belt, and whacks people with a pipe. Hence the quote at the beginning. And he's usually joined by Ibisumaru, who's this big, kind of hefty ninja blue attire. And he's a little out there, weird sometimes, but he's helpful. You're joined eventually by Yai, I believe, who's a female ninja who can transform into a mermaid. And then you've got Sasuke, the robot, not the turncoat ninja from Naruto. And you're working to defeat Spring Breeze Dancin', I believe is his name. That's the bad guy, at least for Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. And There's a lot of action stages where you run around in 3D space and you're whacking bad guys and you're trying to get from point A to point B, essentially. And there's occasionally big robot fights, big mech fights. You jump in the mech called Impact, and I love the theme song for Impact, Impact Dash, and it's just absolutely great. It's one of those things that really got me into this idea of like Japanese songs and anime and things like that. Even though I didn't understand a word of it at the time, I still don't. I mean, I said like bits and pieces, and if I looked at it, most of it would probably make sense, but it's been a long time. But those were the most fun. You got to fire giant coins, you had punches, you had all sorts of neat little moves, and you fought other giant mechs, and it was something that was really cool to me. And like I said, unfortunately, the last main game these guys were in was, I believe, back in 2005 in Japan. It didn't even come out here. And they've been relegated to kind of these side characters, which really kind of stinks, because they were definitely different. The humor in these games was probably more hit or miss generally. I was going to say it was kind of out there, but it was probably generally more hit or miss. And Goemon's Great Adventure was a departure, I know, from everything as well. It just took... It didn't really take a lot of notes from Goemon, from the first N64 Goemon game, but it didn't make it bad. It just made it different. You know, this was a time of kind of experimentation. I will learn English, and it kind of worked, kind of didn't. And I would be very interested to see something like Goemon or Bisumaru pop up in like Smash Brothers. I don't know if there's enough of a move set there, considering Goemon's basic move is whack with pipe. He gets powered up, whack with bigger pipe. Obviously, Impact would be a fun final smash, but I just don't know how many moves you could really fit in. Although I would love to see him be rendered, you know, Vista age on the technology that we have, and, you know, really give him what I think is his due. Again, he's one of the older video game characters, not along the lines of like Mario, Link, or Mega Man, or anything like that, or even Bomberman. But, you know, I still think he deserves a little more respect than he gets. So that being said, what do you guys think? Do you believe Goemon should make another impact in the gaming world, or should he smoke bomb out and disappear? Post your opinion in the top right as usual. Next week, we are going to be 2 days out from Thanksgiving, and around this time of year, these past few weeks, a lot of people have given thanks to a icon in pop culture who has turned 90 years old, and we're going to cover one of his more recent game series, not Kingdom Hearts. We know Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming. I'm not going to jump into that. Technically, by now it does fall into the category. I don't believe a new Kingdom Hearts has been released within the past 3 years. I could be mistaken. Maybe if you count the .2 Birth by Sleep, like Fractionoid. But something else. Something a little more epic. That's it for this one, guys. That is lights out on Shock to the Series, Mystical Ninja.